Hi there, and welcome to the Credentialed. My name is Kate Kaye, and I'm your host here on this podcast. So today's guest is somebody I'm really excited to have. Pam Dixon is the founder and executive director of World Privacy Forum. And I'll admit, part of the reason why I have her on is because I know her as a really awesome source of mine in my reporting work. I was a reporter covering digital media and marketing and privacy issues a lot. And Pam was always a great source for me. So I wanted to have the opportunity to bring her in and to introduce her to the Credentialed audience. So thank you so much for joining us, Pam.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure.
So I want to start off with you talking, just tell me about World Privacy Forum, what you guys do, and, issues you focus on.
So World Privacy Forum is a public interest research group. So basically, we focus on looking for emerging trends in technology and how it impacts human freedom and human autonomy. That's really what we're focused on. So privacy, when you say the word privacy, people automatically think, oh, these people want to live in like an opt-out village.
Tinfoil hats.
Tinfoil hats.
Stuff,
right. But that's not the point at all. It's much more about, okay, so how do we confer rights on people who may not be able to advocate for themselves? So I'll give you a really good example of some recent research. So in 2010, I heard about the Adhar Card. It's a biometric identity card.
I've been wanting to ask you about this.
Yes, it's in India, and it is now mandatory for more than 1 billion people. Well, for victims of human trafficking, they are forced to get that ID card prior to getting medical care. If they don't get the card, they won't get medical care. And this is in contravention of every human rights, document for how victims of human trafficking are treated. So that's the kind of issue we like to work on and to research and benchmark and bring to the fore. In the U.S., we've worked on a lot of issues in relationship to medical identity theft, to unfair uses of biometrics, and just things like that. But we like to research them, find the fact patterns, and then really talk about the facts so that this is an unambiguous thing as opposed to just talking.
Right. It's not this sort of, there's a lot of fear mongering that goes on in the world of privacy.
Oh, yeah.
You guys do tons of research and quantify things and explain, why something should matter, why it shouldn't. So let's talk about, it's called Adhar. This program in India.
Yes.
You spent, I think, several years over there.
I did.
Researching this thing, and now it's actually implemented over there, right?
It is.
Can you talk about it? What does it mean for an everyday person in India to be dealing with this program? How does it, how is it part of their lives?
Actually, now, so the way it started was in 2010, it started as a voluntary program. And this is important for everyone, including those of us in the U.S., because this is kind of like a historic thing that happens with identity. And that's why identity is so important and integral to how we are able to have freedom in whatever, government we find ourselves in. And it changes, of course. But in India, there's a huge movement to help identify people who are living in poverty or even below the poverty state. And the technology of biometrics was sold as a way of doing this and to preventing corruption and graft. And India is loaded with corruption. I mean, the ways that India is corrupt it's hard to count them out. It's tough. It's a tough country in terms of corruption and, payola. So I got a phone call from someone I really respect in the biometrics community. And he said to me, Pam, there are literally no NGOs that are studying the rollout of the right now voluntary Adhar. And this is a person who works extensively in development and biometrics. So he knew that, what starts out as voluntary typically becomes mandatory.
So, and it could have an impact on the rest of the world, right? I mean,
Oh,
there
yes.
could be other governments that look to this and say, "Ooh, this is great. We want to do this."
Exactly, including our government.
Yeah.
So what happened is I had a board meeting with World Privacy Forum, and we had a very lengthy discussion about it, and we decided to go ahead and do the research, understanding that the research was to understand India's context and also compare it with the U.S. context and also the European context. So we did all that research at once. So I went to India in 2010, 11, 12, and then back in 2014. And all total, it was about a year of research in the field. So it was a lot of work. And in the ensuing years, what happened is that the Adhar Card became completely widespread. It went from literally 0 enrollees in 2010. By 2016, there were more than 1 billion enrollees. And once they had that critical mass, the Modi government moved to make Adhar mandatory, and they tacked it onto a budget bill, like in the middle of the night.
So what's the problem here? I mean, why is it a concern that there's an identity system? I mean, we have Social Security cards.
Yeah, it's different. So in India, you can't be born, you can't get married, you can't die, you can't get healthcare, you can't have a bank account. You can't even put money in a bank account unless you sign up for this card. And oh, by the way, the government has unfettered access to this information. We don't have the same kind of Fourth Amendment. We have the Fourth Amendment. They do not have something similar to the Fourth Amendment. And this information can and has been used to round up people. So unfortunately, the Adhar contains a lot of demographic information, and all of this information is also pooled real time. So, for example, let's say that you're a doctor and you're working, in a state-run hospital. In order to continue working as a doctor, you have to use your Adhar to sign into your work. So there are, and that's just one small example, but there are multiple constraints that are coming up for Indians that are using this card, and there's huge pushback. So people who follow this will know that there was a very large Supreme Court case that was brought on the Adhar. So it's a two-part case. The first part is if Indians have the right to privacy, and the Supreme Court said yes. The second part is if the Adhar is legal under that regime. So we're all waiting for that. And there's a proposal that's been put out for data protection, and the comments are due this month. So there's going to be change, and Indians really protested this card. So on a day-to-day basis, basically, if you don't have an Adhar, good luck doing anything. Buying a train ticket, getting groceries, you name it, it's hard.